full and complex. Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning. I'm the master taster of Whisky.com, and today we taste the Royal Brackla, 12 years old, 40% ABV, price range 50 to 60. And this is a really famous old whiskey, just 12 years old, but the history of this whiskey is quite old. William Fraser, a captain of the Royal Navy, founded this distillery in 1812, and in those days distilling in the Highlands was forbidden. So all the distilleries have a foundation date of 1824 up to 1826, when they started to give out licenses, and this one 1812. This Captain William Fraser joined the military with King William IV when he was young. And they had service in the Royal Navy together with, Nelson. So this is famous stuff. And they developed a taste for fine liquor. The Sailor King granted Brackla whiskey a royal warrant in 1833. Royal warrant. And this was the very first royal warrant of all whiskey distilleries still to come. So this was the first royal warrant for a whiskey. The devotion to quality that raised Royal Brackla to its exalted position remains unchanged. We still source malt locally and use the Corus Burns pure water. Crucially, our slowly distilled spirit is then cloaked in the finest oak, with a rich finish in supreme quality Oloroso sherry butts. So finishing in Oloroso sherry butts. The result is a whiskey of such character and complexity that it is today, as ever, fit for a king. Yes. There is a second whiskey available, the 21 years old. And the bottle is heavy, really heavy, double the weight. I haven't measured it, but I felt it's double as heavy as other bottles, and there is this hole down there, like the pressurized bottles used to have, and there are the 1812 on top here, wonderfully shaped. So this whiskey is here to stay. Of course, if you have your own bottle, this is very sherry, very expensive to have your own bottle, and so they will keep to the 12-year-old, otherwise it would be too expensive to produce a bottle just for a few 10,000 bottles. Royal Brackla was then closed in the 80s due to the big British recession, and reopened again in 1991. And then there was a flora and fauna bottling of Royal Brackla, 10 years old. This was the only whiskey, to be felt as an original. But I have some thoughts that there has been already a bottle before, quite a time ago, without an age statement on it. I think so. I'm not quite sure. In 1997, there was a merger between Guinness, together with United Distillers in one company, with Grand Metropolitan. And from this merger, the big conglomerate Diageo appeared. And in 1998, they sold distilleries due to the watchdog told them, you have to sell a big amount of whiskey because you're so big in the market, you have to sell. And so they sold Dewar's to Bacardi. Together, the Scotch whiskey Dewar's, one of the biggest blended whiskey brands in the world, together with Bombay Gin and Bombay Sapphire. They sold it, and Bacardi received the Aberfeldy, Altmore, Craiglachie and the Royal Brackla Distillery. And it took until now, until they brought out this 12-year-old Royal Brackla single malt whiskey. Wow. Enough said. Full and complex, quite spicy, a lot of wonderful sherry. In the back there is a little bit of grapes and of oranges. Yeah. And then coming up some almonds, a little nuttiness. So it's very complex, very full. You can feel the sherry casks. It's just 40%, 12 years old, and very, very intense in terms of the nose. In the beginning it seemed to be a little bit watery, but it was oiliness, smooth oiliness, now converting into spiciness, a lot of sherry, mouth-filling. The almonds, a little stronger, going over to a little bit of bitter almond, but very little. Oranges. And the Oloroso sherry. A really, really good one for a 12-year-old. But 53 euros, 50 pounds, $60 for a 12-year-old. Is that too much? Yeah. A good one. I have no idea how the prices will develop. Typically, if you bring out a new malt whiskey on the market, the proprietor tries to get as much out of the market as you can do. So high prices in the beginning are very, very popular, and then they can't hold the price. Competition cuts in and sales figures do not develop as they should, and then prices go down. And if this one would go down to below 50 or down to 45, or the others come up, I'm afraid. No. Then it would be reasonably priced. Today, if you do not have to look after 10 euros or pounds or dollars, then go for it. It's really a good one. But if the revenues are not developing as they think, it might be the first and only issue of the bottle. So if you're eager to have that one, if you're collecting whiskey and you have to have the new one of Royal Brackla, or the only distillery bottling so far in the moment, then you have to go for these bottles now. The 21-year-old is waiting to be opened. That one is very, very expensive. And there we have the chance that it will be gone quite soon, because we have, after the reopening and the taking over of the new proprietor, we have just 16, 17 years. And then there's the big gap during there's still 7 years to go until 1991 when they started to produce again, but I don't think so that they laid back a lot of maturing whiskey then to be sold as very old ones. So I would guess the 12-year-old is there to stay, and the 21-year-old is one to activate the market. Yeah, good one. Thank you very much for watching. There's more to come. Stay tuned, and if you would like to discuss this video with me, please do so on our vlog or in our forum on Whisky.com.